So I work for Dr. Anderson, and we're looking at mosquito-borne viruses and like how their intestinal bacteria interacts. And we, like through past studies, have found that lacrosse can be affected by Pseudomonas. So they sent me down to Costa Rica, and I was looking for dengue to see if there was like a similar correlation with bacteria that dengue have. I took like those samples from urban sites instead of out in the forest. So they were like in people's houses. I hung them up for like a day and around their houses. And then I went back the next day to collect them, and those were like the samples I took. We like cut their heads for the disease, and then we cut their abdomens for the like intestinal comparison. And yeah, the heads we did like PCR while I was there, and the abdomens we sent back to Justin because he can run other than dengue tests like West Nile and
Yep.
Malaria and all these things, and they can only do dengue down there with like their equipment. I found positive samples. We ran a bunch of PCR on their heads, and some of them were positive. All of them had a flavivirus, but only a couple, like I think 4, had type 2 or type 3 of dengue.
Do you have them like in little separate containers?
Yeah.
Like, do you have like a little mini? Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Like, these were the ones that don't have dengue, but they have something else. My Coolix were positive too.
So why are they liquidy now?
Because in order to ship them here, they had RNA like protecting so that they would be okay. But they're good for a year now, whether they're in the freezer or not. So.
Because RNA decomposes pretty quick,
Yeah.
right?
So for my heads, I extracted RNA, turned it into DNA to make it more like stable when I ran PCR, and then we ran PCR. In my first one, all of my samples had flavivirus. So it was just like straight across the board, and I had 4 controls, so I'm like pretty sure it worked. And the guy that ran it is like their molecular chemist that does everything for them. And then the second one, we could faintly see that some of them had bands in like type 3 or 2.
So how many mosquitoes are you running in a set?
I did pools of Coolix, so there's like 10 to 12 in these ones, and then my IADs was just like 1 container, 1 head, and then 1 container in their body, and then
Okay.
bottles.
So you can